Hello, for this video I'm going to be looking at how to solve the last problem from section 3 of the Grok Introduction to Programming in Blockly. So we can see here the question. It's asking us to look at the Summer Olympics that are coming up, which are in this case in 2016 we're going to be in Brazil, and we need to learn a few Portuguese words. So essentially what we're going to create is a little bit of a translation program where we can put in the Portuguese words from this table here, and it should give us the corresponding English word for those Portuguese words. There's also an option if we don't know the word, okay? So this is building on what we've learned over here in the circles, and that is really around the else if, or the if else logic. So we learned earlier about the if logic decision, but now we're using the if else, so we can have multiple options. So let's have a look at how we might go about it. So as always, we're going to read through this carefully. I'm not going to read this to you word for word. You can do that yourself, of course. And then we're going to look at the examples provided. And we can clearly see that each example starts by asking a question. And that question is, what did they say, with a question mark at the end? And we're expecting them to type in the Portuguese word, the words from the left-hand side of this table. So let's start by creating a variable to save that in. And I will call this port word. I can't be bothered writing Portuguese out each line. In fact, I will do it. G-U-E-S-E. So I will write it out properly this time. So we've got a variable called Portuguese, and we're going to use an input so that we can ask our question, and I'm going to make sure I get it right by copying and pasting my prompt from one of the examples. So if I run it now, I should see my prompt, and I could put in one of the Portuguese words, and of course nothing else happens because I haven't programmed it yet. But we have got our prompt working, so that is the first step. We then need to start checking for which word has been given and respond appropriately. So if we're looking at our decisions section, we can see they've given us a special if, else, if, else, if, else. So it's the only one there, so it's pretty obvious that we're going to be using that. So we're just simply going to work our way through this table. So our first piece of logic is going to be if our Portuguese word, so the one that we have saved now in our variable, is equal to the first word. So we'll copy it from the example again so we don't make a typo. So if our word that they've typed in, which is saved in Portuguese, is equal to the word here, then we want to say the English word. So that's a simple output using our print, and it's going to be the English word. Again, copying it from the table so to not make a mistake. If this is not the case, if it doesn't equal this one, we skip over this and we go down to the next part, the else if. And we're essentially going to copy and paste this to do each word. So I'm actually going to do that. I'm literally going to duplicate that section up here, and I'm going to duplicate this and put it underneath. And what I'm now going to do is change the value. So I still want to be comparing my Portuguese word that we chose, or sorry, that we got entered up here. But instead of this word, I'm going to take the second word from my table and put it in, and the corresponding English word underneath. And again, there's a third word, so let's duplicate that again, and the print. And of course, we will change the Portuguese word to be the third one from our table, and the corresponding English word. So we've got each of the three words now. So there's a Portuguese word and a corresponding English word. But there's also one more option down here. If the Portuguese word isn't one of the above, we should show this bit of Portuguese, which basically means I don't understand. Don't forget the full stop at the end. So again, we have one more option, which is to print out this line. Again, I'm going to copy it from the example so as to not make a typo. So what we have here now is we're asking a question and saving it into our variable, which we've seen lots and lots of times. We're asking the first question, does our Portuguese word equal this bit of text? And if it does, we print this out. Remember, if as soon as we get a match, we skip over everything else. But if we don't have a match in this case, we go and try the next option. If that matches, we print this one out and skip over the rest. If it doesn't, we keep going and so on and so forth. If none of these match, that's where our else comes in. It's like the catch-all at the end. If nothing else has matched, we do this option at the bottom. Okay, so in this case, if none of these words are what we enter, we will get this bit of Portuguese written at the bottom. Time to test it all out. So we run our program and you need to test every single possibility. So there are 3 Portuguese words, so we'll try it 3 times. So let's try it with the first one. We expect to get the word hello, and we do. Run it again. Again, I'm copying and pasting each of these so I don't make any typos, and I'm making sure I get the right response at the end. Okay, so far the 3 words have worked properly, and basically the last one should be anything that's not one of these. I'll use the one that they did in the example to be sure. I'll paste it in, and there we go. We get the correct piece of Portuguese that we don't understand. So I've done all the tests. I'm pretty happy that works. I don't think I've made any typos because I copied and pasted each time, so it's unlikely. So I'm pretty confident now to mark this program. And in fact, yes, we got it correct, all green ticks. Now I just want to re-emphasize one thing here, which we will have talked about and learnt about earlier anyway, but that is just the importance of these conditional ifs, that they have to be exact. So what we will see is if we run this again just for a moment, and we try to put the first option, which I'm not going to try and say it because I cannot speak Portuguese, but instead of a capital O, if we just did a lowercase o, so still spelt the same way, it's not going to work correctly. Okay, because remember, this equal sign means, just like in maths, it has to be exactly the same. Okay, and a capital O, as we know, is not the same as a lowercase o. So even though we can look and go, oh yeah, they meant that word, the computer says, no, doesn't match exactly, therefore I can't count it, and therefore it skips over this hello response, and it comes all the way down to this point because it hasn't found a match. So just remember, when we're comparing text, at this point in our learning, it has to be exactly identical. Okay, so that's how we go about this particular program or project. As always, if you've understood it and you follow along, that's great. Please don't just copy the answer in without understanding what we've done. Rewatch it or ask for some assistance if you still need it. But that is, I guess, the solution to this particular problem. Thank you and good luck.